Put your arm next to mine. Look how red I look.
Look how yellow I look. I'm a Simpson.
Oh, we're two of the primary colours.
Do you guys need an intro? Do I have to give you one? Why do you want one? And now you're begging it, I can't lie. Hey, we are doing the part 2, the very requested, highly anticipated, y'all been waiting for time, part 2 of the fan fiction. We have part 4, 5 and 6, which we will read today for you. I'm joined by Millie.
6 months, half a year living with Chris, Arthur and George. According to Chris, it was a cause for celebration, and one that just insisted that you had to have a party.
What's the colour theme?
Arthur asks with a large smile on his face, and looking like a child in a sweet shop, and Chris following not too far behind with the trolley.
We don't have one. Why the fuck would we have one?
George replies, and laughing at Arthur's excitement.
I would like a little less attitude from George. Just a little bit less. Aren't you the youngest in the flat? Why are you complaining? Shut your mouth.
While Arthur pulled a face at George, and making his way around to slap the smiling man around the back of the head. Thank you. George winced and began to chase Arthur down the aisle, making you and Chris giggle while rolling your eyes. God, can you two get any more childish? You said quietly as they caught back up to you, and minutes later trying to avoid people around you knowing that you live with these morons.
That'd be such a flex.
Fair enough. I'll tell everyone.
Yeah.
Guess who I live with?
I'm like, guys, I'd start live streaming.
It's all the time.
Because I know people want to see what that is like in that flat.
Yeah.
I want to know what it's like in that
Literally.
flat. Carnage. But then you got a fucking voice of an angel, gorgeous, sexiest man that's ever lived in Washington. And then you have streamer can't shut the fuck up at 4 a.m. yapping.
It's also George.
And then there's Chris MD.
You finished up shopping, and after a fight with Chris over who was going to pay, him winning, you got back to the flat.
Well, yes. I think he has the most money out of the entire flat. Of course he's fucking big. It was his idea. We have to celebrate the fact that we've lived together for 6 months. So, of course he's fucking...
Flopping down on the sofa had become a regular thing for all of you, and normally trying to see who could do it first, and for once, someone other than you won.
Who? Is it my man?
And not that you were happy about it, but Arthur's smile as his head hit the soft cushions was too priceless to be annoyed. Even with George and Chris shouting profanities at the brunette sprawled on the sofa.
Profanities?
And legs hanging over the top, shoes still on. Okay, that's...
On the couch?
That's illegal.
Shoes on the couch?
Shoes on the couch. Yes.
Ruffians.
A few hours later, you were lay on your bed after getting ready, and lay carefully as to not flatten your curls at the back. You hear a knock, faint on the door, and making you question whether you actually heard it. But then it comes louder as you jump, saying a monotone, "Come in." Arthur comes in, dramatically flops down on your bed.
Yes!
Making you giggle as you question why the man was in your room.
Why the fuck would you go... Sorry, I'm projecting.
He chokes out, grabbing one of your pillows and screaming into it, and making you chuckle, fully aware of the dramatics that came with your brunette roommate.
Mm-hmm.
"What's up? You seem cheery." You laugh sarcastically as he shoots you a glare, and making so that you fly your hands up in self-defence, a shit-eating grin still on your face.
There's this girl, yeah? She's coming to the party because she got a random invite, but I might have a little crush on her, like, on social media and stuff.
He rambles out, looking as if he's about to cry from whatever pickle he'd got himself into. "Oh my god," you laugh out, clapping your hands in excitement. "You are 100% taking your chance tonight, I swear, Arthur."
I can't. She won't like me like that. Sorry?
"You're a stupidly oblivious man, Arthur Hill. Did you know that?"
Fuck off. And I'm a girl that does what she's told. I will be fucking
She's
right
fucked
off.
The party is in full swing. People funneling into the flat for every 10 minutes or so. You greeted everyone as they came in, naturally gravitating towards the girls of the friend group, as Sabina, Chip's fiancée, reminded you of how good you look.
She's so fit.
And how half the guys there are staring. You look across the room and spot Arthur talking to a blonde girl, blushing harder than you have ever seen him do. ever.
Pause.
Pause.
If you don't know, the girl that wrote this, I know her. I may have dropped a hint that I'd like to be included in this. And I feel I may be included in this.
You know what, the blonde girl's talking to Arthur.
Uh-huh. There's not many blonde girls that talk to us.
That's what I'm saying. The girl was smiling, laughing along with all his jokes, and it was refreshing to see two people so completely enamoured by each other. Almost seeming as if there was no one else around them.
Do both of them by each other?
Yep. There was a clearing of a throat next to you as you turned your head to the side. George standing next to you and looking at Arthur and the girl. He spoke up after taking a sip of his beer.
He looks like he's in love.
It's
sick,
cute.
innit? Oh.
You spoke. George laughed. For a moment, you looked at each other, taking in your opposing views on the situation unfolding in front of you. And then you looked back at Arthur and letting out a little chuckle. You know, one day you'll find a girl who will make you think that love isn't weird, George, and that day will make every girl in the UK cry.
Except for me. I'll be fine. How will you be?
I'd cry. George looks at you, his expression unreadable, and he lets out a little hum. Walking away from you to go talk to Isaac.
Oh, the fucking minute.
Yes?
He said no, he just walked away?
Yeah. Hummed.
Why are you dropping a fucking and then fucking off? Mid-conversation? Actually.
You gotta go to Scotland. Jesus.
Millie is about to pass the torch. Because your gal is back as narrator.
Ooh.
Come on, pal. You stood there for a moment, watching George walk away. His back straight and shoulders Oh, he's got good posture. Respect to it. It was like he'd retreated behind some invisible wall. You let out a breath, trying to shake the feeling that lingered in your chest. Have to let it linger. Something like disappointment. But you couldn't put your finger on it. Shaking your head, you turned your attention back to the party. Arthur was still chatting away with Caitlin. Let's be real, it's me. Oblivious to the world around him. You couldn't help but smile at how easy it was for him. How naturally he was in a moment like this.
That's pretty cute.
Oh. You were about to make your way over to grab a drink when Sabina caught your eye from across the room, waving you over with a friendly grin. You look incredible tonight, she said as you reached her, eyes scanning your outfit. Seriously, everyone's talking about you.
I think they're just saying that to make me feel better.
You said, trying to downplay the compliment. Okay, pick me. No, I mean it. Sabina insisted. You're turning heads. Especially Georgina's. That caught your attention. Your eyes flickered to George, who was now standing in the corner talking to Isaac. His body language still closed off, arms crossed in front of him. Why is he pissed? Why is he in the mood? I fear the last thing we said was, oh, Arthur's whipped. And then he's like...
No, the last thing we said was he's going to find love one day.
And he's pissed?
Yeah, apparently.
And mind-boggling, man.
George?
You asked? George?
George?
George? Yeah, Sabina said. Her voice teasing. Oh, yeah. He's been watching you like all night. Every time you walk past, it's like he's checking you out. Your heart skipped a beat. And you forced a laugh, trying to act like the information didn't have any effect on you.
No way.
You muttered, glancing at George again.
He's just being George.
What's that mean? I was just telling them how much George is... Wait, shut up.
Where are you even?
Sabina raised an eyebrow. I'm telling you, there's something there. You should really talk to him. Before you could respond, Chris appeared. How the fuck did they see him?
That's the point. He appeared.
Someone
put him on a chair.
He's boosted the seat down.
Boosted seat.
Beside you, his usual mischievous grin plastered on his face. What's all this about, George? He asked, clearly overhearing part of the conversation. I was just telling Millie about how much George is eyeing her up. Chris's eyes flickered towards George, and he raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. Oh, I knew something was up with you two, he said, crossing his arms over his chest. You're always so touchy with each other.
Whoa.
Why have we been left out of the loop? What do you mean by touchy? Because there's touchy and then there's touchy. The way he said touchy made your stomach churn. Oh, it makes you feel sick at the thought.
Yeah.
George... It felt like something heavier was hanging in the air, but you couldn't put it into words. You rolled your eyes trying to play it cool.
You guys are imagining things.
You said, but your voice lacked the usual conviction. Chris just smirked, clearly not buying it. Sure. He then turned his attention to Arthur, who was still laughing with the girl. Anyways, looks like someone's got himself a date for tonight. And does. He's got himself a date for every night. Any minute, every day, every hour. Come on.
You know what? I'll leave them to it.
You said quickly, trying to steer the conversation away from George and back to the party.
I think I need a drink.
Real. Chris shot you one last knowing glance before he wandered off to grab his own drink, leaving you standing there with Sabina, who was giving you an entirely too knowing look. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of laughter, music, and too many drinks. You didn't notice how much time had passed until the party had thinned out a bit, leaving you with just a few stragglers and the ever-present noise of music still playing in the background.
Got stragglers. That makes it sound like there's like people that we're like trying to like shoo out, like get
George. You found yourself standing by the kitchen, staring into your drink, absently swirling it with your finger. You know your fingers are big, bro. Why are you chucking?
I'm like dipping my finger in my drink.
Yeah, with some extra Flavier. What the fuck? You hadn't seen George in a while. Thank God, honestly. Like, that actually sounds like a dream. By the way, any bullying towards George is a joke.
Yeah, we all kind-hearted here.
We love George.
Some more than others.
We absolutely love George.
Yeah, he's
an icon. He's slaying the house down, pussy queen boss.
Our favourite person.
Honestly, favourite YouTuber.
Yeah, honestly.
Then, wait, shut up. You figured he must have disappeared into the crowd. There's a few stragglers. I think it's not much of a crowd for him to go into. Probably talking to someone else or making his usual sarcastic comments somewhere. But then you heard footsteps approaching. You're going to hear it from like 20 miles away, his fat head.
That's not footsteps, that's you hearing his
head
head off the wall.
You didn't need to turn around to know it was him. You felt it. Oh, yeah, you felt the vibrations of the power of his head and the gravitational pull. The shift in the atmosphere as he came into your space. Sorry?
What?
He did what?
He did what?
That's insane. The way everything seemed to stop for a moment. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. You just came in your space.
Again, gravitational pull. Everything
crazy.
stops because it's like glued.
That was vile. That's disgusting. That's insane.
No.
After we were like beating around the bush there and you just went, oh, there's cum everywhere.
I just progressively got more red as the video.
George's voice broke through the music, rough and a little hoarse. Like he'd been shouting over the noise all night. You finally turned to look at him. He was standing just a few feet away, his hands shoved into his pockets, his eyes locked onto yours, the same unreadable expression from earlier still in his face.
Hey.
You replied, your voice coming out quieter than you expected. There was an awkward pause between you two. Then why'd he come over? If he doesn't have anything to say,
I was gonna say, why are you coming up to me? Why are you saying hello?
Why are you
you're not
here?
gonna do anything.
If we were going to stand in silence, you could have stood in silence on the other side of the room. The air thick with unspoken things. He shifted his weight from one foot to the other, his gaze flicking to the ground before returning to you. You good? He asked, his tone softer than you expected.
Yeah, just a bit drunk, I guess.
You said, offering a slight smile, though it felt a bit forced. George nodded, but his eyes didn't leave yours. There was something there, something unspoken that seemed to grow heavier the longer he stood there. You could feel the tension building between you, but you couldn't tell if it was just the alcohol or something else. I'm fine, he muttered after a few beats, shrugging a little. Just thought I'd check on you.
You've checked on me before, George.
You said with a light laugh, trying to deflect the tension in the air, but you couldn't stop the words that followed.
You always check on me.
His expression shifted for a moment. You thought you saw something flicker in his eyes. Something softer, maybe even vulnerable. But it was gone too quickly for you to be sure. Yeah, he said quietly, stepping a little closer. I guess I do.
I guess I do.
Why is he in my personal business?
I guess I do.
Back the fuck up, pal. You could feel your heart beating a little faster, but the moment felt more heavy than anything. There was no flirty edge to it, no teasing, just something different between you two. The air felt thick again, but this time it wasn't uncomfortable. It was real. Okay, I'm passing the torch back to Millie. Millie!
As the door to your room clicked shut behind you, you took a deep breath, letting the luxury of the resort wash over you. You'd been a bit nervous earlier, but now that you were here, everything seemed fine. The boys' banter and the strange sense of calm were enough to help you settle. Still, your mind wandered back to George in that brief moment when his gaze had lingered on you. They're doing what?
Is this later?
It is, yeah, they're at a resort apparently.
Ah. What happened? They're at a resort?
But we probably should have
In London?
I think they're at like a spa or something. It wasn't much, but there was something about the way he looked at you that left you feeling off balance. The door swung open a few moments later, and in marched Chris and Arthur, as if they owned the place.
Don't mind us.
Chris said, grinning.
We just wanted to make sure you were properly settling into the place.
Arthur, already sprawled on the bed, gave an exaggerated sigh.
I'm waiting for the butler to bring me a foot massage. I'm on my way, hon.
He announced dramatically.
I'm literally sprinting. It'll be a 4-day walk, but I will be there.
Causing Chris to roll his eyes. I can't decide whether you're joking or you're serious, you said, raising an eyebrow. Do you actually need one?
Only if you're offering.
Arthur grinned.
Arthur? You ho?
Before you could respond, Chris jumped in.
Nah, mate, forget foot massages. Bathrobes are where it's at. They gotta have the best robes here.
Really? Bathrobes? You looked at him, genuinely amused.
They're comfy, alright.
Chris said, flopping back on the couch.
And they're like a fucking XL blanket for him.
Yeah. He's literally... And they're comfy for him because it's a new house.
And we need matching ones. All 4 of us walking around them. That's the dream. Who said that?
Chris! Arthur's eyes lit up.
Oh, I'm in. Imagine the Instagram photo is perfect.
You couldn't help but laugh.
Oh.
Alright, I'll admit, they probably do feel nice. But that's it. No matching robes.
Why in? Millie?
Boring. I'm boring.
Yeah, you're boring as fuck.
At that moment, the door creaked open and George appeared. He glanced over at the 3 of you, his face instantly lighting up with that familiar, sarcastic grin.
Oh, are you seriously talking about robes now?
Arthur grinned, leaning in with a smirk.
You're turning down the robes, George Clark. What happened to you?
George rolled his eyes, clearly amused.
I'm more interested in the poolside bar than some robe, mate.
Chris laughed.
Ah! There it is. George Clark, always after a drink. Okay,
See,
I guess me and George are similar.
Arthur leaned towards George,
Jealous.
wagging a finger at him.
Oh, so jealous. You're going to regret this. You'll be begging for me.
Whoa! Oh, that's the direction this is going.
You'll be begging for a robe by the end of the night.
Thank you. You caught George's eye as he turned toward the window, his gaze flickering toward you for just a second. It was quick, but you felt it. That little shift. His expression was unreadable, but something about the way he looked at you made your stomach flip.
Whatever.
George muttered, shrugging it off and walking away with his usual carefree attitude. Though his movements seemed a little more deliberate than usual. You stayed quiet for a moment, the others continuing their conversation about bathrobes, but that brief glance from George, the way it lingered in the air, kept nagging at you. Arthur jumped up from the bed, heading for the door.
You know what? I'm getting one. Bathrobe or not.
Chris followed suit.
You're on your own with that, mate. What? I thought it was his idea.
That's what I'm saying.
Christopher.
You stood up, smoothing your dress as you gathered your thoughts. George was still standing near the door, chatting with Chris. And though he was laughing, his gaze is still flicking over towards you, almost like he was waiting for something. As you walked toward the door, George's eyes met yours for another brief moment. It wasn't anything overt, but there was something in the way his expression softened that made your heart skip a beat.
Ready to go?
Chris called, breaking out your thoughts. Yeah, you replied, forcing a smile, trying to shake off this strange feeling. The boys were already heading down the hallway, the chatter picking up again, but you couldn't shake the lingering thought that maybe, just maybe, there was more to George's glances than you'd thought.
No.
No.
You're being delusional, babe.
Yeah.
You're actually mega delusional.
Yeah.
No, what he's doing, is just scanning the room and you happen to be in the way. Part 7. The club was alive with the energy. The lights flashed in rhythm to the beat, casting an array of colours. Okay, Oxford Dictionary. The fuck? She grabbed a thesaurus and she went fucking crazy. Over the crowd as the music thudded deep into your chest. The guys were in their element, lost in the chaos of the night. Chris and Arthur were already pushing through the crowd, trying to find a good spot at the bar, while George lingered a little behind, his casual stride keeping him a few paces from the group. So is this like the same day?
Yeah, like they're on holiday, they've gone to a club.
Oh, Paris, say queen. Losing yourself in the music and the crowd. And there was a sense of discomfort, something unspoken in the air. It was hard to ignore the feeling that you were aware of George more than usual tonight. You literally live with the fucker.
Did you just forget you were aware of
Yeah, like, you literally live with him, pal. What are you yapping about? You caught him glancing over every so often, his gaze lingering for just a second longer than necessary, but each time, when you tried to meet his eye, he'd look away quickly. You're being delusional.
Purely.
Unless he makes out with you, you're being delusional.
He actually wasn't looking at you at all.
No, you're actually making it up
this whole
again.
time.
It was hard to shake it off. Shake it off, and shake it off. Woo, woo. You could tell there was some unspoken tension between you two. She's really deep in this too much. Girl, be so for real. But it wasn't something you wanted to overthink. Oh,
They were too late.
yeah, I feel you've just
We're
been
too late for
yapping at
this.
us about the fact that he's glanced at you a
This
couple
whole
of times.
time.
God forbid he looked in your general direction. Crazy. You shook your head, focusing on the loud chatter and music as you followed Arthur to the bar. Shut! Arthur shouted in your ear, grinning wildly as he shoved his way to the counter, slapping down cash for the bartender. Oh, I just know that's hard.
Of course you'd want shots.
Who are you talking to like that?
Arthur.
Watch your mouth. You muttered, but your lips curled into a grin as you watched him do his thing, completely oblivious to anything else around him.
Yeah.
As the bartender handed you a glass, you felt a familiar presence next to you. You didn't have to look up to know it was George.
She's really got a sixth sense for this guy.
Yeah.
This is the second time this has happened.
Like me. There was something about the way he carried himself. That mix of confidence and casual indifference that made his presence obvious in any room.
Taking a break from dancing?
You asked, half teasing, half trying to hide the weird tightness in your dress. Just wanted to see if you were keeping up, George replied. Keeping what up? Crazy. A smirk tugging at the corner of his lips as he glanced at you from the corner of his eye. You could feel his eyes on you. Babe.
Could you though?
Sit down. George Clarkey, internet celebrity streamer. Vans is just having a browse around the room. It's not all about you. Let the man live. Your pulse quickened just slightly. You can never tell with him, always keeping his cards close to his chest.
Keeping up? You really think I can't keep up with you?
You shot back, rolling your eyes and offering a playful grin. George laughed. Please, I've got moves only you can dream of. He doesn't know who he's fucking with because I'm not being funny. Yeah, I'm a trained dancer, bitch. Come at me. The banter was light, but there was something about it that felt different. More charged than usual. Before you could say anything else, I don't... Sorry. And Chris appeared. Again, How do we see him?
Yeah, how... Is Arthur carrying Chris? Is that what's going on?
Maybe piggyback style, you know what I mean?
No, it's not piggyback. It's like, you know, that pop figure on his shoulder.
Dragging you toward the dance floor. The group splitting up as everyone started to find their rhythm in the music. You followed Arthur. Can you leave him alone?
I'm trying.
Your feet moving with the crowd, but every so often you glance over your shoulder and catch George's eye. Great, go to him, please.
I'm trying.
Each time there was something there, something unspoken, but then he'd look away just as quickly, almost as if he was aware of it too and wasn't sure what to do with it. At one point, you felt a warm hand on your back. Ooh, just for a second.
Where's he taking her?
Guiding you through the crowd. You turned instinctively, only to see George next to you, his face a little closer than you expected. You gave a half smile, a bit of teasing in his eyes. Don't get too lost, yeah?
Right, like I need your help not to get lost.
You teased back, trying to brush off the small flicker in your stomach as you both moved through the dance floor. But then, there it was again. The unspoken thing between you two. You found yourself moving closer, almost in sync with him. The space between you getting smaller and smaller until... Oh, they got cock blocked.
Blocked.
Spoiler, they got cock blocked.
Cock block.
A loud crash, a group of people stumbling into you both. And just like that, the moment passed. George stumbled slightly, steadying himself against your shoulder. He laughed, shaking his head. Jesus, talk about timing. Ooh. You both pulled away from each other, but not without that lingering tension between you. It wasn't obvious. It wasn't a moment where you'd look back and say, that's when things changed. But there was something there, something just below the surface, something neither of you wanted to acknowledge. You managed to catch his eye again, just for a brief second, and this time he didn't look away immediately. There was a flicker of something in his gaze, something that made you wonder if maybe you weren't imagining things. But before you could think too much about it, Chris and Arthur were dragging you back into the chaos of the club, and George melted back into the crowd. He melted?
Why is he melting?
He went... His laugh cutting through the noise. Fucking hell, he's got a fucking loud cackle, and he's like, ah, 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 ah. You can hear it from the other side of the club. Fucking hell. You shook your head, pushing the thought aside. It was just a club, just a night out. You were overthinking. That's part 7. You know what? Fucking just get with each other. Either admit you're delusional or just get off with each other.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it feels like very, very slow burn.
Boring. Just fuck.
Boring. Oh.
Just get it over with. Thanks for watching. If you stayed.
And click that subscribe button.
We don't say that here. Anyway, stay sexy. Stream appetite. And I love you.
Buy tickets to our tour.
Yeah.